Hey everyone, welcome back. We'll continue along with the saga of the radiators here. Working on getting the turbo intercooler cowling adapter or kind of configured here. Kind of threw me on the instructions there because the plans there show it being black, and I had the part and was like, well, I'm clearly missing a part because I need one that's black, and didn't realize that the color had changed. So I got an extra one that I'll have to send back to Sling. Getting the rubber grommets on required upsizing the holes a little bit, which makes sense because it has to go over there's two posts or shunts of some sort on each end of the radiator. And in order to get that on there, it's definitely, it takes a little bit of work. I've got the oil out there to apply a little bit of lubricant to each of those posts, so the part slides on there. And it's not a square piece either. There's a rounded side, and then there's a kind of a square side. So there's definitely an orientation on how that goes on there. So it took me, a little while to get that going. One of the other things or the next step after this is actually to get the baffling installed. This is also really a little tricky. The instructions call for this to be glued on, and I mean, I get Sling is in South Africa, and they use the parts that are available or the materials that are available down there. There's no direct correlation to the type of adhesive that I've found here in the States. So got to find something that's comparable. I've got some spray glue that's actually in the far right hand side of the screen there. But again, an adhesive is, especially in an area that vibrates and gets warm, it's not, in my opinion, isn't going to be good enough. So what I wound up doing was getting it set in there all the way, and then I started working my way around, clecoing or drilling a hole and clecoing each section in there with the intent that once this is all together, then I'll still use the adhesive, but then also rivet the part onto that cowling section there. And I think it went better than what I was really expecting it to. I'm not the rivets. They're gonna hold it on there, but it's not like riveting two pieces of metal together where it's absolutely not going anywhere. There may be a little bit of play in there, so I may have to revisit this at another time. But I just took an afternoon to do this, and once I got the holes all squared away, then it was time to take it off and do the spray, or put the spray, the glue that onto that flange in there. I also got a Sharpie out and drew a line, so I knew exactly how far up I needed to do the spray glue. I didn't want to spray the whole thing, because then you've got all that extra tacky adhesive sitting on exposed parts that you either can't pick up, or you go to grab it and then your hand's sticky, or anything that touches it's going to be sticky on top of it. So I just basically masked off the area with the newspaper there in a straight line, and then liberally applied a lot of the adhesive. This is just another angle on it. I didn't go twice down it, it's just a different angle. And this adhesive does do okay. It's the stickiest stuff I could find that was pretty reasonable. I let it dry for a little bit of time. I don't want it to get to the point where it no longer has a tacky nature to it. And then, of course, the real tricky part is getting it started, because you don't want to have it get stick to something that it shouldn't stick to, and then you're pulling it apart, and now you're losing the tacky nature of it. So once I got it started, and then I started riveting it together. The other thing is I really wanted to rivet from the inside out. So the flat portion of the rivet was in the actual section where the air is going to be flowing through that piece. There's nothing on the other side of it, and I didn't want the mandrel side of the divot or rivet to be in that channel. It probably wouldn't make that big of a difference, honestly, but my thinking is that the head of the rivet is better to be coming from the inside to the outside, because you've got a bigger grip going into the rubber there, and having it attached to the fiberglass, or the fiberglass cowling component, it won't be as bad. So because I wanted to get some work done on the exhaust cowling cover. I needed to make a batch of the superfill up, and this is the first time I've ever worked with it, so I really wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know really anything about it other than just some of the things that I've read. What I'm doing here, I definitely wouldn't recommend. I created a lot more work for myself, because by using sort of the very liberal application of it, to go through and remove all that, it takes a lot more sanding than. It's very hard. It dries very, very firmly. So it took a fair amount of time for me to be able to remove all that from the cowling and whatnot. And you'll see that coming up here. One of the other things that I decided to do was Midwest had upgraded their the device that allows you to use the key fob, and I was like, I'm in a spot where it's not that big of a deal to make this change, and it's going to be a bigger challenge to move that after the fact. And I'm really glad I did it now. The placement of the new control device, it's easily twice the size of the old one, and as you can see, I'm working on the back portion of the where the instruments are all in the cabin there. And had I done this after the plane was done, it would have been just a lot more challenging, because I wound up having to put some new rivet holes in because the pattern is different, and getting the placement just right. It will fit between the stiffener there on the back and the two vertical pieces that I think it's a comm, and I forget what the other one is that sits in there, but if you install it back behind there, then you got to take it out anyway, and I wound up having to do that. So my buddy from work, Don, stopped by. He was in a previous video helping get the cowling on, and he was down doing a currency flight, so he stopped by to see how things were going. Took some time to get the prop controller installed. I think this was really the last piece of electronics that I needed to pass through the firewall, and I really should have done it a few weeks ago, but I didn't do it for whatever reason, and so I had to backtrack a little bit, because I'd really tidied up the opening in the firewall for the wires that were coming through already. So opened that back up, got that put through. My father-in-law stopped by just to, he likes to say that he's inspecting and making sure that I'm on the right track, and that's kind of where how things go. Anyway, so on to sanding. This is the exhaust shroud section that I was working on. I think I think I'm seeing my future here of lots of sanding. So, I can only base off of what I've seen people work or doing this type of work on. I am not a fan of sanding. It's not my favorite thing to do, but at the end of the day, it's got to get done, and so I just got a nice one of those kind of foam sanders that there wasn't really necessarily a round corner on it, and I could kind of feel my way through it. Probably took me a couple of hours to sand the exhaust shroud and both sides of the airplane. I'll definitely be looking at some of the other suggestions that are online for making this a little bit easier of a job. But at the end of the day, once I got it all sanded down, if you take your hand and run across it, it feels really good. There's definitely another round that I'm going to have to do of the superfill, just because there's still some additional divots that are actually in the fiberglass material. And I do have to do some backfill on on the other side, because I've got about a 1/2 inch gap that needs to be done. Anyway, so that's all for this video. Please feel free, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.